there's a version of me that I hate. And the scary part is, he still shows up, not every day, but enough that I can't pretend he's gone. He's the guy who stayed quiet when he should have spoken up, the guy who refreshed his phone instead of doing the work, the guy who needed strangers to clap for him just to feel like he existed. I know that guy intimately because I was him for a long time. And this video is about the moment I decided to declare war on him and what that war actually looks like from the inside. Let me take you back to 2020. I'm a first-year university student. Fresh start, right? New chapter, that's how it's supposed to feel. But here's what my reality actually looked like. No new clothes. I mean that literally. I wasn't buying new things because there was nothing to buy with. Or my room was modest in every sense of the word. I was sleeping on the floor, and every single day I would walk into that university campus and immediately start performing. Not studying, performing, trying to get people to like me, trying to get people to approve of me, trying to say the right thing in class, hang around the right people in the corridor, be seen in the right way. I needed that validation like I needed air. If a day went by where nobody acknowledged me, where nobody laughed at my joke or responded to what I said, I felt invisible, like I didn't exist. And meanwhile, this is the part that was eating me alive. I'm watching people around me who I knew were not working as hard as me, not thinking as deeply as me, not as serious about life as me. And they were doing better, earning more, moving forward, looking comfortable. And I'm on the floor. That year broke something in me, but it also built something, and I want to talk about both. Let me be honest about who that version of me actually was, because it's easy to look back and dress it up, make it sound better than it was. I'm not going to do that. The old me was a conflict avoider. If something bothered me in a friendship, in a situation with someone's behavior, I would say nothing. I would swallow it, smile, keep things smooth on the surface, and then go home and let it eat me up from the inside. Why? Because I needed people to like me too much, to risk them not liking me. That's the math. If your entire sense of worth is built on other people's approval, you cannot afford to disagree with them. You cannot afford to challenge them. So you become a version of yourself that is built around not disturbing anyone. And what does that cost you? Everything, your opinions, your boundaries, your self-respect, slowly, quietly, all of it goes. The old me was also deep in easy escapes, and I've talked about some of those on this channel before. But what I haven't talked about is the specific way that easy dopamine interacts with low self-worth, because they feed each other perfectly. When you already feel like you're not enough, when every day you're surrounded by evidence that other people are ahead of you and you don't understand why, the escape becomes more than just entertainment. It becomes survival. It becomes the only place where you feel anything good without having to earn it, and that's the trap. That's exactly the trap. Because every hour you spend escaping is an hour you're not building, and the gap between you and the people you're watching succeed just gets wider, and feeling that gap get wider makes you want to escape more. I was in that loop, deep in it, and on top of all of this, on top of the financial stress, the addiction, the validation chasing, the quiet resentment of watching others win, I was in a long-distance relationship with a girl named Sandra. We had been together for a while at this point, and long distance is hard under any circumstances. But when you're already struggling, when you're already fighting yourself every day, a relationship becomes the one place you're holding on to, the one thing that feels stable when everything else feels like it's slipping. She was my anchor, or at least I thought she was. 2020. I'm on the floor of my room, no new clothes, watching people around me move forward while I feel stuck, fighting an addiction I haven't told anyone about, performing every day for people who don't actually care about me, exhausted, genuinely exhausted, and Sandra cheated on me. I want to sit in that for a second because it's important to understand what that moment actually meant, not just the heartbreak, which was real and it was heavy, but what it represented. And it was like the universe decided that year needed one more thing, one more hit, one more reminder that the ground beneath me was not solid. And I remember sitting there, actually sitting, not on my phone, not escaping anywhere, just sitting with it. And something shifted, because in that moment of total stillness, when I had nothing left to distract myself with and no performance left to give, I saw myself very clearly for maybe the first time. I saw a guy who had been waiting to be chosen, waiting for validation, waiting for someone else to make him feel like he was worth something, building his entire emotional life on things outside of himself. Now, other people's approval, a relationship, the hope that someone would finally see how much potential he had. And I thought, this has to stop, not because I was angry, but because I was done done waiting, done performing, done building my worth on ground that could be taken from me at any moment. That was the moment. I made a decision that day that I've never fully put into words until now. I decided that money, a real financial independence was going to be my first priority, not because I believe money is everything, but because that year taught me something brutally clear. Without it, you are dependent on other people's generosity, on other people's validation, on relationships that can disappear overnight. And I had watched right there in front of me people who weren't smarter than me, weren't more talented than me, living with a kind of quiet confidence I didn't have. And the difference wasn't intelligence, it wasn't connections, it was that they weren't desperate, they weren't performing, they weren't on the floor. I also decided, no, and this one was harder, that I was going to stop living for other people's reaction to me. Because here's what I understood that year: the validation never fills you up. You get the laugh in class, you get the acknowledgement, you get the approval, and for about 10 seconds it feels good, and then it's gone, and you need more, and you will spend your entire life chasing something that never stays. The only validation that actually holds is the kind you build yourself through work, through discipline, through becoming someone you actually respect when you look in the mirror. I wasn't there yet, not even close. But for the first time, I knew what direction I needed to walk. Now here's the part nobody puts in the motivational videos. Deciding to change and actually changing, those are two completely different things. And the gap between them is where most people give up. Because the old version of you doesn't just disappear because you made a decision. He doesn't pack his bags and leave quietly. He stays. And he is strategic about when he shows up. He shows up when you're tired, when something didn't go the way you planned, when you're bored and the easy thing is right there, when someone says something that triggers that old need for approval and you feel yourself about to shrink and agree just to keep the peace. The old me still shows up in those moments. I'm not going to lie to you. Some days I walk into a room and I can feel the old pattern activating, that hunger to be liked, to be approved of, to be seen as impressive. And I have to consciously catch it, notice it, choose something different. Some days I choose something different. Some days I don't. And that's the honest answer to where I am right now. Some days the new version wins. Some days the old one does. But the ratio is shifting slowly, consistently, and the ratio is shifting. And what's made it shift is not motivation. Motivation is the most unreliable thing in the world. What's made it shift is a few very specific things. The first is replacing the escapes with something that builds. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I've eliminated every bad habit, but I've been deliberate about adding things that actually compound over time. Reading, physical training, building skills that translate into real value. Every time I choose one of those over the easy thing, I'm not just avoiding the negative. I'm building evidence. Evidence that I'm the kind of person who does the hard thing, and that evidence changes how you see yourself. The second is learning to have the uncomfortable conversations. This was massive for me. The conflict avoidance was costing me so much. Without relationships that weren't honest, situations I was tolerating that I shouldn't have been, a version of myself that everyone around me thought was easygoing but was actually just afraid. I started forcing myself to say the thing, the real thing, even when it was uncomfortable, even when I didn't know how the other person would react. And something surprising happened. The world didn't end. People didn't leave. And the ones who did leave after I finally showed up, honestly, I didn't actually need them. The third is detaching my worth from outcomes I can't control. Sandra taught me this the hard way. You cannot build your foundation on something another person can take. Your worth cannot live in someone else's hands. Not a relationship, not a grade, not an applause, not a number on your phone. This is still a work in progress for me, but the awareness alone has changed how I move. I want to say something to whoever is watching this, who recognizes themselves in that 2020 version of me, sleeping on the floor, feeling like you're being left behind, performing for people who don't actually see you, fighting something privately that nobody knows about, holding on to a relationship or a person or an idea because it's the one thing that feels stable. I see you, and I want to tell you something I needed to hear back then. The situation you're in is not a verdict on who you're going to be. The floor is not the final destination. The hard year is not the whole story. The people who are ahead of you right now, and some of them will stay ahead, and some of them are running on empty and don't know it yet. Either way, their position has nothing to do with your potential. What I know now that I did not know then is that the most valuable thing that happened to me in 2020 was not Sandra, not the financial struggle, not the humiliation of watching others succeed while I was stuck. The most valuable thing was being forced to see myself clearly, because you cannot build a better version of yourself from a lie. You cannot improve something you refuse to look at honestly. That year stripped away every comfort, every distraction, every external source of validation, and left me with just me. And for the first time I had to decide, is this who I actually want to be? The answer was no. And that no, as painful as the moment it came from, was the most important thing that ever happened to me. I'm 25 now, still building, still fighting, some days losing, but the direction is clear in a way it has never been before, and I'll take that. If you're in your 2020 right now, hold on, keep your eyes open. The clarity is coming. That's it for me today. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.